Good morning class 12 students. So this is your subject physics, chapter number 12, that is atoms, and this is lecture number 2 of this chapter. So yesterday you studied about Thomson's model of atom and Rutherford's model of atom, and you came to know that inside an atom a tiny core is present which is called nucleus, and electron is orbiting around that nucleus. Okay, so now let us start with the electron orbits today. So as I told you yesterday also, there is some centripetal force required for the electron to revolve around the nucleus, and that centripetal force is provided by the electrostatic force between your nucleus and the electron, because one is positively charged and other is negatively charged. So obviously there will be electrostatic force of attraction between them. Okay, so now equating these two equal, that is centripetal force, as you know, is mv square upon r, and electrostatic forces are nothing but E square upon 4 pi epsilon naught r square. See, E square because charge on the electron is E and charge on the nucleus is plus Ze. But here, because I am writing for hydrogen atom, so as you know, for hydrogen Z is 1, so therefore I have taken Z to be 1. If you are writing for any other atom, then you have to take Z here. Okay. So now from this you can easily calculate R, this and this will cancel out. So you will get R to be E square upon 4 pi epsilon naught mv square, or you can calculate V square also from here. That will come to be E square upon 4 pi epsilon naught mr. So we have calculated V square from this formula, that is by equating centripetal force and electrostatic forces. So now we will be calculating all the energies of this electron, that is kinetic energy, potential energy and total energy, and we will see what is the relation between them. Okay, so as you know, kinetic energy is given by half mv square. Because here is a factor of v square, therefore I have calculated v square here. So just put value of this v square here. So you will get the value of kinetic energy to be E square upon 8 pi epsilon naught r. So this is the kinetic energy of the orbiting electron. Now if we want to calculate potential energy, and again you know the formula of potential energy, that is Q1 Q2 upon 4 pi epsilon naught r. Again, because I am taking Z to be 1, so that will be E into minus E, because electron is negatively charged, upon 4 pi epsilon naught r. So this will come to be minus E square upon 4 pi epsilon naught r. So this is the value of kinetic energy and potential energy for an orbiting electron in hydrogen atom. Okay, so now if we want to calculate total energy, that is nothing but kinetic energy plus potential energy. So kinetic energy is E square upon 8 pi epsilon naught r, as you have just calculated, and potential energy is minus E square upon 4 pi epsilon naught r. So now if you subtract them and you calculate total energy, I am denoting it by E, so that will come to be minus E square upon 8 pi epsilon naught r. Okay, so this is the total energy. Now if you want to relate kinetic energy and potential energy to total energy, so as you can clearly see, E square upon 8 pi epsilon naught r, this is nothing but kinetic energy. So here is a negative sign extra. So you can write kinetic energy is nothing but minus of E, where E is your total energy. And similarly, as you know, your potential energy is minus E square upon 2 pi epsilon naught r. So therefore you can say potential energy is nothing but twice of E. Okay. And remember this, I am not writing a factor of Z in all these values because I am talking about hydrogen atom, for which Z is equals to 1. Okay, now we can conclude one more thing from here. As you can see, this total energy is coming to be negative. So what this negative energy signifies? So because the total energy is negative, it signifies that electron is bound to the nucleus and is not free to leave it. Okay. So this was about electrons orbits. Okay. Now there were some limitations of Rutherford model also, due to which Bohr's model came into play. So before studying the limitations of Rutherford model, let me tell you about the atomic spectra. So first of all, we'll be studying about atomic spectra. So what is atomic spectra? The spectrum of frequencies of electromagnetic radiations emitted or absorbed during transition of electrons between energy levels within an atom is called atomic spectra. That is, see, inside the nucleus there are various energy levels in which electrons are revolving. So there can be transition of electron from one energy level to another energy level, due to which it was said that electromagnetic radiations will be emitted, okay, according to Rutherford. So now when you make a spectrum of those frequencies of electromagnetic radiations which are emitted or absorbed, that becomes our atomic spectra. Furthermore, it was said that if the electron is going from a higher energy level to a lower energy level, then emission of the radiations will take place. And if the electron is going from low energy level to a higher energy level, then that means absorption of electromagnetic radiations has been taken place. So you can say the electron will go from this low energy level to high energy level when it has absorbed some electromagnetic radiation. Okay, so this was the atomic spectra. Now based on this atomic spectra, spectral series were formed, and it was also said that there are two types of spectrum: line emission spectrum and line absorption spectrum. Obviously, line emission spectrum will denote the frequencies, or you can say the wavelengths of electromagnetic radiations that are emitted, and line absorption spectrum will be showing the frequencies or wavelengths of those electromagnetic radiations which are being absorbed. So if you talk about how these spectrum looks, so line emission spectrum means there will be few bright lines with dark background. That is, in a dark background there will be few bright lines observed, which is called to be line emission spectrum. That means the lines which are being observed are showing those wavelengths or frequencies of the electromagnetic radiations which are being emitted. Now if you talk about line absorption spectrum, in that few dark lines will be observed with a bright background. Obviously, dark lines will signify those electromagnetic radiations which are being absorbed. Okay, so what was there? There were various spectral series that were seen. So spectral series is nothing but the group of various lines. Okay, so there were normally 5 series which were seen, that is Lyman, Balmer, Paschen, Brackett and Pfund. We will be studying about all those series in Bohr's model. Okay, so for here you can just remember that spectrum or the line emission or line absorption spectrum is a line spectrum, not a continuous spectrum, because this will be nothing but a limitation of Rutherford model. So studying this atomic spectra, let us now discuss what are the limitations of Rutherford model. Okay, so first limitation was that, see, as electron revolves around nucleus and emits electromagnetic radiations, that means its energy is continuously going on decreasing, because it is revolving around the nucleus and it is emitting electromagnetic radiations. So this means electron should spiral inwards and fall inside the nucleus. But as all of us know, matter is stable, therefore atom cannot collapse. So this was a very main limitation of Rutherford model, because according to his model the atom should collapse, but what we see is matter is always stable. So if I tell you this through a diagram, if this electron is revolving around nucleus and it is emitting electromagnetic radiations, that means its energy is continuously going on decreasing. So what will happen, due to the decrease in energy, it will spiral inwards and it will fall inside the nucleus, but this does not happen. Okay, now this was the first limitation. Second limitation was that as electron is spiraling inwards, that means its angular velocity and frequency will change continuously. So if the angular velocity and frequency are changing continuously, that means we should observe a continuous spectrum. But as I told you in atomic spectra, what we observe is a line spectrum, not a continuous spectrum. So again, this was a limitation for the Rutherford's model. So due to these two limitations, Bohr's model came into play. Okay, so now let us start Bohr's model of hydrogen atom. And as I told you, for hydrogen, atomic number or your Z is always equal to 1. So first of all, we'll be discussing three main postulates of Bohr's model. So first postulate was that electron revolves around nucleus and the centripetal force required by the electron is equal to the electrostatic force between the nucleus and the electron, same as we have studied before, that is mv square upon r centripetal force is equals to electrostatic force, that is ze square upon 4 pi epsilon naught r, where ze is the charge of nucleus and E is the charge of electron. So if you are writing it for hydrogen, you can take Z equals to 1. Second, Bohr's postulate was that electron can revolve only in non-radiating orbits called stationary orbits, for which total angular momentum of revolving electron is an integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. Up till now you have studied that electron was revolving in orbit, but there was no condition for that orbit. But according to Bohr, electron will only revolve in those orbits which are non-radiating, that is those orbits will not be emitting any radiations, plus the total angular momentum of the revolving electron should be equal to integral multiple of h upon 2 pi. That is, as you know, total angular momentum can be written as mvr, where m is mass, v is velocity and r is the particular radius. So mvr, that is angular momentum, is integral multiple, that is n, of h upon 2 pi. So this n can vary from 1, 2, 3 and so on, and this is also called principal quantum number, which will denote the state in which the electron is present. Okay, so this was the second Bohr's postulate. Okay, so third postulate of Bohr was that emission or absorption of energy will only takes place or will only occur when electron jumps from one state to another. That is, there it will not be a continuous emission or absorption of energy. Instead, emission and absorption will only takes place when electron is going from one state to another, and moreover, if it is going from a higher state to lower state, then energy will be released, and if the electron is going from a lower state to higher state, then energy will be absorbed. See, obviously, if something is going from low to high, that means he has to absorb some energy, only he or she will be able to go from low state to high state. Similarly, electron will be able to go from low state to high state, or you can say from inner state to outer state, only when it absorbs some energy. Okay, now if we suppose that electron is going from n equal to 1 to n equal to 2, that means it is going from inner state to outer state, so therefore some energy should be absorbed. So for that, suppose when n is equals to 1, the electron has a formula of E1, and at n equal to 2, the electron has a energy of E2. So E2 minus E1 will be nothing but h nu, where h nu is the energy of emitted radiation. So E2 minus E1 will be equal to h nu, that is the energy of emitted or absorbed radiation. But according to our condition, we have taken electron going from n equal to 1 to n equal to 2. So that means this much energy will be absorbed. Okay, so we are denoting it by del E. Okay, so according to all these three Bohr's postulates, various quantities were found out, that is radius of Bohr's orbit, velocity of electron, energy, etc. So that we'll be doing in next lecture. Okay students, now I'll be discussing the homework questions that were given to you in the last lecture. So the first question was, you have to choose the correct alternative from the given your given options. So the first is, the size of atom in Thomson's model is dash the atomic size in Rutherford's model. Okay, so the answer will be no different form, because according to Thomson as well as according to Rutherford, the size of atom was same, so it will be answer will be no different from. Okay, B part, it says in the ground state of dash, electrons are in stable equilibrium, while in dash electrons always experience a net force. So electrons are stable only according to Thomson's model, whereas there was a force according to Rutherford's model. Okay. In C part, it is said a classical atom based on dash is doomed to collapse. So as I told you in today's lecture, according to Rutherford, the atom should collapse, but it does not happen in real. Okay. D part says an atom has a nearly continuous mass distribution in dash, but has a slightly non-uniform mass distribution in dash. Okay. So as you have studied in Thomson's model, electrons are embedded like seeds in watermelon, and positive charge was also uniformly distributed. That means in Thomson's model, mass was uniformly distributed, but because in Rutherford model, all the positive charge of your atom is concentrated in nucleus, so that means it is placed at one place only. So you can say that the mass is not distributed uniformly according to Rutherford. Okay. Last part of the question says the positively charged part of the atom possesses most of the mass of the atom in, again, both the models, because obviously electrons have a very much smaller mass. Okay, so the next is second question. It says if we take hydrogen instead of gold foil in Rutherford's your experiment, that is alpha ray scattering, then what will be the effect? So as you know, hydrogen is very much light as compared to alpha particle in weight. So because hydrogen is very lightweight as compared to your alpha particle, so what will happen? When alpha particle will strike the hydrogen, it will start moving faster than the alpha particle. So our experiment will not be able to get completed. Okay, so when the alpha particle will strike this hydrogen, it will be moving much faster as compared to alpha particle, due to which we will be defeated, or our aim would not be able to complete it. So we cannot use hydrogen instead of gold foil. Okay, so after going through today's lecture, you can do question number 3 and 11 of chapter number 12 from your NCERT book. Thank you.